Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Vanessa and I am an indie author from Toronto, Canada, and I publish under the pen name Sage. I write a lot of mystery, a lot of paranormal mystery, and a lot of young adult fiction, all pretty much in the fantasy and mystery realm. And on this channel, if you are new and would like to subscribe, you should know that I post videos weekly. Most of the time it has something to do with either writing or being a creative entrepreneur, or it has something to do with planning and stationery and things like that, because those are pretty much my main passions. Today we have a really fun video. I have created another resource for our resource library all about cozy mystery beats. And so I've created a plotting sheet with some beats that you can use if you are looking to write a cozy mystery. These are the same beats that I use in my cozy mysteries and what I use to build off of when I plot my mysteries that I write. Right now, I am about to publish book 2 in one of my cozy mystery series. Actually the first paranormal cozy mystery that I have. The other mysteries that I have are paranormal, but they're in the young adult world. But Cafe au Soleil is coming out at the end of the month, so I thought it was a perfect time to create a resource for anybody who's interested in into writing cozy mysteries. If you do want to get these sheets, they're absolutely free. All you have to do is subscribe with your email and you'll get a password and a link on where you can sign up for the resource library. And there's a ton of other resources there as well. There's different plotting sheets, there's world building sheets, there's character development sheets. There's even a whole planner that I've designed that you can get for free and print out as you see fit. Now, I wanted to quickly share also before I get into this and how I would use this when I am plotting my cozy mysteries. I am working on another project that's very, very exciting. I know I've been talking about it for a while. I've decided to just jump the gun and do it. But I have started illustrating a lot of kawaii type things. And I'm going to be opening an Etsy shop. It's going to be called Mimico. There's already a shop there, but there's no listings. I already have some social media set up, but there's nothing, just the bare bones of it already, because I'm working on all the illustrations. And that's going to be launching pretty much right after Cafe au Soleil goes live, just in the same week, but towards the end of the week. So a lot is happening in April. I'm going to actually pop on like somewhere here on the screen. I'm going to pop up one of my illustrations so you can see the style that I'm going to be working with. And there's going to be planners to start. There's going to be planner stickers, some functional. There's also going to be some decorative die cut stickers. And there's going to be a few premium printed postcards, so more like art prints of some of the full scene designs. So stay tuned for that, but I will add some links to the blank pages of the social media and of the Etsy shop if you feel like giving them a follow so that you can have a notification when the shop goes live if you're looking for anything like that. So I'm very excited. I know I keep saying I'm excited, but I did run a sticker shop before and it was a ton of work. But I think this time I've learned a lot from what I did there. And so this time it's different also because it's all my own designs. It's all my own art and illustration, which makes it that much more inspiring to work on. So with all of that out of the way, let's just go ahead and dive right into these plotting sheets. I'm going to just move this notebook out of the way so I have more space because I want to show you exactly how I would fill this out. So there's 3 sheets in total. One for Act 1. There is one for Act 2 with some beats and one for Act 3. And there's 4 beats in Act 1 that you can work through. There's 5 in Act 2 and 6 in Act 3. And I know it sounds strange because Act 2 usually has the bulk of the novel. So why would there be less beats? But the beats in Act 3, as you'll see when we're going through this, are very fast paced, so there's not going to be much to it. So the way I would normally sit down, and there's enough space here for you to write your little heart out, but usually I just do point form and I go very quickly. So we're going to fill this out as though we're working on the first book in the Orchard Hollow series for me, and that's a grave roast. So normally I would just put a grave roast kind of at the top here so I know the book that I am working with. And then I start making point form notes. So our first beat for any cozy mystery, any mystery really, but we're talking about cozies here, is you meet the sleuth. So the sleuth is your main character, sometimes more than one, but you want to think about your character, introducing them to your reader and introducing their normal life here as well. So in A Grave Roast, we meet Piper. So Piper Addison, I will usually put the character's name in the first point here. And then I'm going to say that we meet at the cafe, and then the name is Beam Me Up, because it's a play on words on Beam Me Up. It's a spaceship themed cafe that she owns. So we meet her at that cafe. It is hectic. Espresso machine is broken. And Piper is trying to fix it. The next thing that we find out is find out that she's a witch. Find out Piper is a witch. Find out she is not good at magic. And we find out that she has a ghost familiar. Okay, so these are the things that I want to introduce in the beat where we meet the sleuth. Then we're moving on to introducing the cozy setting. As you can see here, we're not thinking about chapters, not thinking that. We're just filling this out so we have an idea of the plot of the story and where we're going with the book. So introducing the cozy setting is very important when you're plotting a cozy mystery, obviously, because people want to feel cozy when they're reading this. So we're going to, for A Grave Roast, we're going to show the town, introduce some of the shop owners on Cliff Row, which is the main road of the street. We want to show Nancy Steels, who is Piper's, I guess she's her arch nemesis in a way. And their tense relationship. So in those little points, I'm going to cover the cozy setting. I'm going to show how everybody interacts with each other with Nancy Steels being introduced. I'm going to show how everybody knows each other, and kind of you get that like small town bickering and feel as well. And then the next beat is a shift in the normal life. So a shift in the normal life means that something is changing. We're leading up to the crime, and something happens for Piper that makes her wonder if something's about to go wrong, or at least kind of it gets the spidey senses going. So our shift in A Grave Roast, and sorry, if you haven't read this book, by the way, don't watch this video because we're going to go through the whole thing. So there's going to be a lot of spoilers, but the shift in the normal life for A Grave Roast was a phone call from Daniel. Oh, and also in the Introduce a Cozy Setting, we meet Daniel, who is going to be the victim. And he is a warlock, so don't forget that. So we get a phone call from Daniel. Strange, because they don't talk. Cryptic message from him. He sounds afraid. And then he asks Piper to meet him the next day. Okay, so that's our shift in normal life. She gets a phone call from somebody she doesn't usually talk to, doesn't know how he got her number, why her specifically, but she tries to call him back and no answer. Daniel back, but no answer. And my handwriting is very, very crazy. But bear with me. I know what it means. I should have been a doctor. Okay, so now the final in Act 1, the final beat in Act 1 is the crime happens. So this won't take us very long in this point, because in A Grave Roast, what happens is Piper shows up to the cafe. to cafe. Daniel is not there. Then we have Harry Houdini, who is the raccoon that always shows up and causes trouble. But Harry Houdini drags prints all over the cafe. Piper follows them and finds Daniel's body in the alley. Finds Daniel dead in alley. Okay, so Act 1 is done. We met this truth. We introduced the cozy setting. We had a shift in the normal life, and then the crime happened. So that is how we would plot Act 1. Now, moving on to Act 2. That's our next step. So the first beat you want to think about in Act 2 is the point of no return. And this is the part that would make your character need to investigate. So what I mean by that is a lot of times, like Piper found the body, she could just walk away. Why does she feel the need to investigate? So Daniel died in her in her cafe. In her cafe, she is the prime suspect. Sheriff closes the cafe down. And Piper is running low on cash. So she needs to solve this murder to clear her name and open the cafe. So that's her point of no return. That's her need to investigate. Our next beat is the suspect pool narrows or interviews start taking place. So over here, I would normally just make a list of the different suspects that you have and suspects that you have for the first kind of crime, for the first murder, for the first incentive moment. And so our suspect pool is, we're going to go through Daniel's life. So we're going to have, I'm not going to go through this, but we'll have like suspect 1, suspect 2, and I would make a list of all the different suspects. And if you haven't seen my video on how I figure out who the suspects are and what their motives are, I do have a video on how I create a murder board for all of my mysteries. So watch that one as well, because it's got a lot of really good information on how I go ahead and kind of figure out my little suspects. So I would have suspect 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then I would have a list of their interviews and what kind of happens in the different interviews, and I would have them here. Then the other thing that happens in the middle of Act 2 is you have your second antagonist attack. Now, in a cozy mystery, that's usually another crime or another murder. Now, in a grave roast, the second antagonist attack was actually a murder that had happened previously in the Rose Hollow Hotel, which is a hotel that is fake haunted in front of the cafe. And so what Piper realizes, the second antagonist attack, so Piper realizes that Rosemary, which is the victim of the past murder, that Rosemary's death and Daniel's death are connected. Okay, so testing of theories. So over here, and I'm trying to do this in a way where I'm not giving away too much for anybody who hasn't read the book, and also that we don't have like a 2-hour-long video. So the testing of theories. So Piper is gonna go through and try to figure out some theories, and then we're going back to our suspects as we go. So some of the theories she's gonna have is Daniel found out what happened, is one theory. We have the theory that, and another thing, point of the shift in normal life, which is going to happen kind of here, is Daniel sent her, it's not relevant to this because we're just kind of going through how we would fill this out, but he sent her talisman, which is like the magical talisman from a witch, and she doesn't know who it belonged to. But what she will later figure out is that Rosemary, it's one of her theories, Rosemary is the owner of the talisman. So now her other theory will be Daniel the warlock stole Rosemary's talisman for her power. But how? It's not possible to do. So there's prefaces in the book that explain why it's not possible to do, but that is one of the theories. So you would go through and you would figure out what theories you have, why the suspects might be involved, and you kind of go back to your interviews to do that. Another beat you want to cover in Act 2 is the failure of this same theory. So you would go through each and every single one and you would say why the theories don't work. And the way that theories fail is you would interview your actual suspect. So every suspect, let's say that we're testing that Daniel stole Rosemary's talisman for her power, but then to test the theory, she has to talk to suspect 3. So Piper, after speaking to Daniel's cousin, realizes that Daniel hated witches and would not be involved with them or their magic. And since Rosemary was a witch, why would he have a talisman if he wants nothing to do with it? So you would go through every single one of your theories and you would make them fail. You need to make your sleuth fail because you need to progress the story, right? So that's what you would do in Act 2. Then we move on to Act 3. So in Act 3, the first thing that you want to do is you want to make the stakes rise. So how those stakes are rising for every single one of your books is you want to make it that the antagonist is closing in closer, that something else is happening where your protagonist has no choice but to delve even further into the mystery, into the investigation. So the stakes rise for Piper because in this particular book, the sheriff calls her and tells her that Daniel's death, and there's a lot more to this plot, by the way, of the book than what I'm filling out here. I'm just kind of pulling at things just from my fresh memory of the book. But when I was plotting it, I like really went through it and was very detailed with a lot of these. And tells her that Daniel's death was accidental. He believes it was drug-induced, and the case is closed. Case is closed. So now the stakes are rising because Piper knows that's a lie. She needs to prove not just who murdered Daniel and that his death is connected to Rosemary, but now she has to prove the entire police force of Orchard Hollow that they are wrong. And she has to do it by herself. So then what does she do? She forms her final theory. And the final theory is also going to lead to some dead ends. So the final theory that your main character forms, it doesn't necessarily have to be the thing that is true because you want to have some kind of twist. And it usually comes somewhere around the last part of Act 3, where you have a fun little kind of ending, haha moment. It's not what you thought it was. You want to lead your reader astray as far as possible and then kind of drop that anvil of surprise on them. So Piper forms her final theory about Daniel and about Rosemary. So in order to solve Daniel's death, she has decided that she's going to solve Rosemary's death. And that's what she's been doing this whole time. And her final theory was that Rosemary was killed by one of 3 people that she was connected to. Because all these 3 people, as you would have remembered if you've seen my murder board video, all these people would have had motive. And so now we have suspect 1, suspect 2, and suspect 3. And more often than not, the interviews with these suspects are almost like secondary interviews with some of the suspects we had from Act 2, because new information will come to light that will bring you back. There's a new theory formed, and so your sleuth has to go back and re-interview and re-figure out because new clues have popped up. So now we have the next beat, which is the confrontation beat. So in our case, Piper goes to confront Tristan because he was the last person to see Daniel alive and had an affair with Rosemary while he was married. Okay? So that is our confrontation. So she marches over there to confront him and decides that he must have been the person that killed him. But while she's with Tristan, there's a new revelation, which is the secondary and the main antagonist, the main killer in this. So Patty revealed as main killer. She hated Rosemary and wanted her gone. Okay, so that's going to be the big twist towards the end because you never see it coming. And now the final beat is justice is served. And this is kind of like your wrap-up beat where you want to talk about like the way that your sleuth is now, what has changed for them. And it's almost like that final look of the book. So justice is served. We've got Tristan and Patty arrested, right? Piper has new magic. Cafe is a success. And finally, we have the final look, which I usually add here, and that would be final look, Piper, Stella, and Harry Houdini all together. Okay, and that is essentially kind of as fast as I could make it. It's how I would go about plotting out a cozy mystery. It doesn't take very long. As you can see, it took us like 20 minutes to do all this very quickly. But from this, you can really start expanding. So like for these things, once you start expanding that, you'll have a lot more to write on. And as you expand from this, you'll find that you'll have the makings of your book very, very quickly put together. And everything will be hitting a specific beat and leading your sleuth in the direction you need them to go in. So again, if you want to download these for free, they're available in the resource library. Just sign up and go ahead and download them, and you can print them out as often as you need to for every book and cozy mystery that you write. And if you want to see more on the shop that I mentioned and some of those stickers and prints and all of that that's coming, then stay tuned because I'll have a lot more announcements on that. But in the meantime, if you want to go ahead and give the shop a follow on Etsy or on Instagram or TikTok, even though no content so far, I'll be rolling that content out starting next week. But if you want to give it a follow so that you're in the loop and ready, when it's ready to go, you'll be the first to know. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you are writing a cozy mystery, let me know what you think of these sheets and if you find them useful and if you're going to be using them to plot. And if you have anything else you want me to do videos on, always looking for fresh ideas of things that you guys want to see on this channel. So make sure that you comment below and let me know. And as always, thank you so much for subscribing, for being part of this wonderful community that we have here. And I hope you stay magical, and I will see you next week. Bye.